we're doing something in Brazil right now, actually, with Coke. I don't know if it's quite launched yet, but Coke's big kind of proposition right now is what Coke is experienced with, so obviously food. And so forgive me for getting the copy wrong. I'm not a copywriter, so this is going to sound really dull and boring, but I promise you it's really creative. Something that sits on the box that just says, text your husband what you're having for dinner tonight, or a recipe or something like that, that kind of starts involving other people through mobile technology inside the retail space or the grocery store in order to kind of pull in other people. It's a little bit of a social idea as well, I guess, but that just kind of is giving people something to talk about inside of a mobile store that involves kind of other people and what they're going. So I think we're very actively thinking about mobile behavior inside of retail spaces, more so than just mobile technology inside of retail spaces.
I think as well, Dixon's, I don't know if you remember, you used to be able to go online in the Dixon's store. And what I used to do was go see what I want, then go online, see it was cheaper web, buy it, get the reference number, pick it up and go to the till. And they actually stopped everyone's access in the store. And it's one of those, it's a tide they can't stop. You know, people are purchasing so much through online, and you've just got to embrace it. So all of these stores have got to accept that if you start doing a different price structure, web and store, you're going to come a cropper, but you can't turn that tide, so it's happening.
But we've been speaking to a large furniture retailer about putting in captured portals within their stores. So they recognise that lots of people have their smartphones in store. They also recognise that people potentially have web accounts as well. So captured portal is a closed piece of internet, I guess. So it's like a home page within the store. It's Wi-Fi delivered, and you log on within the store. It's free access to anybody within range, and then you get information about the product range. You can actually, while shopping in store, then shop via mobile retail site. And the idea is that you've got people in store. You can direct them to call members of staff. You can direct them to call in store. But the idea is that actually you're providing an overspill to the if you like the customer facing capacity within the store. It's very interesting. Traditional retailers actually have a big problem with, first of all, traditional retailers have had and still some have a problem with their websites competing with their stores. So they don't like the fact that people in store don't like the fact that people are going to go home and use the internet, and they obviously then don't like the fact that people are then on their mobile phone. So it doesn't even need a bit of a mentality stretch to say actually any customer is a good customer, whether they're in store, out of store, at home or on their PC. And when you get that mentality and you actually go, okay, fine, I can use mobile to enhance the in-store experience by actually allowing people to scan an item, pay for it and leave the store. So you've got that real store experience of smelling and touching the furniture, whatever you do, and then being able to then buy that and walk out without actually having to speak to any teenager on a Saturday job. Done.
In the apparel industry, I think what a lot of shopper marketers have discovered is that the layout of certain stores, which All Saints would probably be guilty of, isn't conducive to understanding the product offering as e-commerce site is. So I think All Saints' strategy was trying to show the entire offering from a very kind of clean and kind of way, so you can kind of mix and match and things and stuff like that. I don't know exactly their iPad app, but I know that understanding of shopper behavior in retail environments has been kind of something to tackle for a while, especially for major high street brands who have a lot of different clothes and things like that. So it's kind of hard to know like exactly what to buy. So I would imagine that their strategy was thinking, oh, let's put them in there, one, because it's kind of gimmicky and it's kind of nice to kind of get young people in the way that they appreciate technology, but two, it kind of shows the offering in a very kind of clean, kind of interesting way. Probably also collects data, which is something of interest. I have no idea. Can you buy from the apps inside the store?
I think it's kind of like a personal shopper basis, isn't it? I think from a call factor, it's very good. I know End2End on their augmented reality are very chuffed about the iPad having the cameras, because you can start to get the virtual dressing room scenario. So I think that you look at the Apple store, it's rammed to the gunnels. Why? Because it's so nice, the environment and the interaction. And you can't, not being rude, we're quite a mature audience, you know, for the technology we're talking about when you look at the people who really immerse themselves in it, which is, you know, my daughter goes nuts and she's all the time on all this stuff. So I think all of those elements, I don't think you can necessarily do a huge commercial argument for handing out iPads for personal shoppers to try, but it's all part of the experience, and it stands them apart. You've mentioned all the same. It stands them apart, so I think from that perspective.
You know, what's going to happen? Where are we going to be in 6 months, 12 months, 2 years? How will things change? If you get this right, then you could make a lot of money, I guess. But any thoughts on how things will develop?
There's one app that or tech startup company that I've seen that I think is onto something interesting. Not exactly their company, I'm not promoting them per se, but like just the concept is quite interesting. And so far we think of a lot of location-based technologies based on context and then also based on social networking. But there's this app called Like Minds, I believe it is, or something like that, that anonymously through Twitter and Foursquare and some other things like that, but also just through the GPS of my phone, will anonymously tell people where I am, and so I just appear as a little orange dot. And no one can ever see my profile, my name, my gender, my age, anything like that. But they can ask me a question around. So if I'm, at someplace in Covent Garden, it can say what store I'm in. I can say, is it busy at, whatever store? Is it crowded there, or what's kind of going on? And I like this idea of kind of anonymously connecting to people and around the city. I think from a social point of view, I could really see a lot of kind of leaps in the location-based adoption by creating kind of a barrier so you don't know who anyone is. Because I think there's a fear factor of people saying, I don't want people to know where I am, and things like that, which I think is very reasonable. So I could really see an uptick in anonymous actions.
Yeah.
There's a huge growth in medical. I think medical is, we're going to see, again, empowerment. I predict within 10 years, it's far enough away that no one can hold me to that you will own your medical records, you will physically own them, and it's perfectly feasible. There will obviously be a problem of sort of 17-year-olds who don't give a monkeys and post it all up on Facebook, but you will hold your medical records, and it will start to be, at the moment, if you look at our healthcare in the UK, it's all about treatment, very little about prevention. We're working on projects which will start to interact with the medication that you're taking, know it through your mobile, and start to isolate illness clusters. It will also know what you're taking at certain times. So I think location is, for me, obviously, as I said, a very exciting element. But it keeps coming back to how, as a consumer, you're empowered with this device, and it's just going to get more and more powerful. And I think location is a great, great asset to it. And the growth is just going to be phenomenal. I know we're talking about NFC, and I think that will answer so many of the technology problems. Because 2D codes should have been a lot bigger than they were. They're a really cheap solution, incredibly cheap solution. You've got to download an app. With NFC, it's built into your phone. So you touch, I was going to download it, but I won't bother. I've got a poster there. You will touch the poster and you'll interact with it. And it will literally just be tap, and you're interacting, and location, everything works. So I think the future's bright. I think the future is mobile for sure. And it's incredibly bright for the consumer, but also I think for the fact that you're here shows that how much you're sort of sitting up and realising what a massive opportunity is. And that's what I just see it as, this huge, huge opportunity, which you just got to run with, without a doubt.
I think NFC undoubtedly, within about 6 months to 2 years, will be something that we see an awful lot more of, particularly as the level of smartphone penetration becomes much, much higher. It's like people aren't going to go back from having smartphones once you've got one. I think the implication, just thinking about location and brand, so specifically about retail, I think what happens is when you start attaching things like digital content and experiences around physical locations, like, I don't know, the intranets, but the sort of the content delivery network inside a Starbucks, say, for example, or being able to show off matching clothes in a retail fashion environment, I think you start to get a different role for retail estate in general. I think that might be one of the most interesting things to happen in about 2 years' time. So what actually is the role of a store, given that people may well have already made up their mind before they even get there? What are they expecting to experience? Why are they even there in the first place when you can get something delivered to you instantly? So I think there'll be some interesting developments around the role of the retail estate. Some of that will be technical, so developments in EPOS technology, maybe even things like ShopKick. I don't know if you're aware of the ShopKick technology over in the States, where somebody can be tracked when they walk through the doors of your store and register their location on the network, and you start to incentivize and reward that person for actually going to one of your physical locations. That could be quite interesting.
Well, actually, I said I wasn't going to. It was a bus stop poster for Arcadia Topshop. NFC enabled, so I've touched the jacket, hit it, it's loaded the jacket straight into my basket. It tells me that I can buy it at their Cardinal Centre store, 0.9 miles away. So that's a bus stop poster I've interacted, gone straight into my basket. NFC is going to be colossal, massive. I don't think this year, we've already, I mean, a lot of people don't know the Nokia C7 has got it built in, but it's not switched on, which I kind of don't understand, but Nokia in their wisdom see some merit to it somewhere. You are going to see it, but it will come down to handsets. But that links in so beautifully with location, so it's how it works. So if you suddenly think every bus stop gives a new meaning to staggering home pissed at night, but every bus stop will become a 24/7 store, essentially, because you can interact with the poster. So it's quite interesting. I think NFC is
Stuff,
big.
yeah. Simon?
Okay, I'm going to be a bit pragmatic here. What are we
Don't
talking
be
about?
boring. Don't you?
I would try not to be too boring, but I've got to implement a lot of these ideas. So, in the next 6 months, we're going to see NFC launch. We're not going to see it reach mass market adoption for another 2 years after that, I shouldn't think. I mean, I'll be the first in queue to get an NFC enabled phone. I know they're out in the market already. We can't do much with them right now. It'll grow. Smartphone adoption is increasing, but it is going to tail off. Lots of people still have feature phones and basic phones. So I would say next 6 months, SMS is still ubiquitous for location and has the maximum reach. You'll see a lot more. You'll see location introduced into mobile websites as we get HTML5 and that kind of thing, which is very exciting. You'll see location used a lot more in application, and you'll see a general consumer acceptance for location and desire for location just growing as they become more familiar with it. And that's going to be in the next 12 months. 24 months, so 2 years, yes, NFC is going to come into play. We're also going to see this, if you like, this joined up picture of being able to take people from advertising into store and redeem come into full effect as well, because that's still not there. So I say in 2 years' time, we're going to see location-based vouchering become commonplace, may even be linked to NFC, so you'll be able to, all this magical stuff about walking past a poster, requesting the voucher and then redeeming it, this kind of Starbucks stream that we're talking about, but actually done through a pull mechanic rather than a push mechanic, I see that happening in 2 years' time. Has to be very carefully controlled. Consumer has to always be in control of what they're getting and when they're getting it. But yes, so I mean, I agree with the vision. I just think that in terms of reach and mass adoption and implementation, 2 years' time, full on NFC mobile location-based vouchering will be commonplace.
Thank you. A round of applause for the panel. Thank you very much. How would Phil, Matt and Simon? It sort of sounds like a boy band maybe, I don't know, or a man band. So maybe if your careers don't work out, we could see you fronting Wembley maybe. Very interesting. I learnt a lot, I hope you guys did.